When it comes to flying, I like Takeoff best, especially if the engines get to full throttle and we begin to lift off the ground. Yet that takeoff is the end of a long preparation of both plane and passengers to make sure that everybody and everything is ready. It's the end of a long process. Pentecost was when the early church took off for the flight of their lives. It's the story of the gift of the Spirit told by St. Luke in Acts chapter 2. When we look at this story, it can appear to be an unexpected and surprising event from nowhere. Yet, reading back over the Passion stories, we can see there were 3 other upper room experiences that prepared the disciples for this day of Pentecost. The first of those experiences was the Last Supper room, where Jesus showed his disciples that the only way his life could be shared was for his body to be broken. His suffering brings blessing. The second was the Emmaus upper room experience, where Jesus locates his story within the great story of God's love for the world and for his people, Israel. His story brings blessing. The third was the Ascension room, where the risen Christ says to his disciples, "Wait for the gift of the Spirit, so that you can become my witnesses." His Spirit brings blessing. And then this story of the Pentecost upper room, where the Spirit gives those early Christians the freedom and the power to be his ambassadors. His gospel brings blessing. 3 years ago or so, I was invited to take a gliding flight from Bern Airfield, south of Selby. We went through the safety checks to get the plane ready. All the parts were therefore working, and as we were put on the runway, I noticed we were behind a light aircraft with a rope tied to its fuselage. Then, unexpectedly, that rope was tied to our plane, and the plane began to pull us off the runway. My stomach was in my mouth as we picked up speed, and then with the roar of the wind, we took off. That, to my mind, is Pentecost. The challenge is, are you up for the flight?